Today is May 24th, 2005, and I'm Jessica Clark, the Teresa Mack Germans from Russia History Fellow and Coordinator for the Germans from Russia Oral History Project. It is a pleasure to visit with Lorraine in Gackle, North Dakota. Please state your full name, maiden name, and date and location of birth for the record.
It's Lorraine Meidinger, Caseman, August the 31st, 1930.
And place?
Farm north of Sealand.
Okay. When you were born, did your parents ever, after you were born, did your parents ever tell you any stories about how you were born? Were you born in a
Nope.
hospital?
Nope. We were born on the farm
Born on the farm?
with Grandma. With my grandma's help. Yeah, she always
So she kind of
attended.
acted like a midwife.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
She attended,
Did she do that for all of your brothers and sisters? Oh, great.
except for the last one, which my mom had a doctor.
Okay. And how many brothers and sisters did you say you had for their?
I have 5 brothers and 6 sisters.
Okay. Since your grandmother helped with delivering, were you very close to her as you grew up?
No, in those days,
Not really.
there were too many. She didn't have time to be close to anybody. She worked very hard.
Did she live relatively
Yeah.
close to the farm?
No, I lived real close.
Did you know your grandparents from the other side of the family?
The grandfather, but my grandmother had passed away when my mother was 9 years old.
Okay.
So I never got to know her, but I got a picture of her in the bedroom,
Okay.
black and white.
Did your grandfather ever remarry, or?
Oh, yes, he was remarried, I think, 2 or 3 times. I really don't know
Okay.
for sure. They didn't talk about those things in those days.
Okay. Did your mother have other brothers and sisters?
My mother had not. There were 9 girls in my mother's family, and 2
All-
boys.
2 boys. Some people have said that that's a farmer's nightmare, having all daughters.
Don't worry, they worked in the field.
Did they work in the field?
My older sisters especially.
Really?
And I helped haul hay, and I helped like with the heathering and the shocking when there was binding time and trashing time. We all helped with that. We had to go pick rocks, and the minute we were able to do something, we had to go do it. We had to help feed the chickens and slop the hogs and milk, and we had to go get the cows from the prairie, and without shoes in the summer. We had no shoes to wear. Well, when there's in the 30s, there was no money. When you got that many children, how are you going to buy shoes for all of them?
Yeah, true.
We had a pair that we wore for church on Sundays, and that was it.
So then, I imagine you also had a lot of household responsibilities
Sure.
as well.
Of course, with all so many kids, there wasn't that much. Everybody did something.
Did the men also then help around the house?
Are you kidding? We even had to go polish the boys' shoes. When they were out on dates Saturday nights, they come home, and Monday mornings we had to go polish, Sunday nights we had to go polish their shoes, which I think was ridiculous when I think about it. They could have cleaned their own darn shoes.
Yeah. What type of farm did your parents have?
Grain and cattle.
Okay. What type of animals were on the farm?
Well, we had horses and pigs and cows and chickens and ducks and geese and turkeys my mom even raised.
Oh, so I assume you raised most of them for food then for the family?
Yeah, most of that. Well, the cattle were sold. The horses you needed to plow the fields and stuff. See, they used horses in those days.
Did your family have a tractor at all, or was it
Later on, yep.
later on?
Yep, later on, had one of those with the spikes.
Okay. How did that change? Were you able
No,
to drive
no.
that at all?
Are you
or?
kidding? With all the boys, I never got to drive anything. They used to fight about who's going to get to drive it.
It always made you stick with the manual labor.
Yeah, I never got to drive.
Were you close with your parents growing up?
I guess as close as you can be when there are that many, but there was never one-on-one time for any, one-on-one. There was no such a thing in those days. Those Germans were a little cold. They didn't show their affection. I knew we were loved, but they never
No.
mentioned it or showed it. But we knew we were loved, especially Mom.
How about with your brothers and sisters? Were you really close with them, or?
Well, the ones that seemed like our age, like my sister here, let's see, she's only a couple of years older than I am. Her and I were close.
So what's the age distribution? I mean,
That's
you said
all
she's
about,
the oldest, right?
yeah, she's going to be, it's in there,
In here.
84, I think.
Okay.
It's probably, would it be in here when she was born? If you want to know the exact dates. Well, this was her here.
Oh,
Read
okay.
this once and see.
Gertrude, daughter of Albert C. and Emma, was born September 22nd, 1921. So it's 2005, so 84.
She'll be 84 then in the
84.
fall.
And then the youngest
And
is...
the youngest one, she was one of those latecomers. She's,
Okay.
you got to go way,
Way
back to
back.
that. Because the other ones are all first. They went along with the, oh, wait a minute, let's see, go ahead.
Keep going.
I got to get up and look, or
Okay,
let me
okay,
get
yeah,
the
you
book
look.
on.
And then,
Oh, here she is.
okay.
Here she is with her family.
So Arlene
Mm-hmm.
was born 1947. So you,
Mm-hmm.
2147, you have 25 years between the oldest and the youngest.
Mm-hmm.
So that is quite a span
Well,
of age.
Like I say, everybody is real close in age except her.
Oh, so she was...
She's
way-
really young. She's about 15 years younger than I am.
Oh. So were there like groups of people that of the family that hung out more together than...
We didn't hang out. We were on the
Okay,
farm.
Working on the farm, so not
And we
much.
didn't get to town except on the 4th of July, when we all got to go on the 4th. That was a great big deal.
Where'd you go? Like, did you go to
To
Castle?
Sealand?
Or,
No,
Sealand?
to Sealand.
Okay.
That was their hometown. We went to Sealand, and there they had always a big 4th of July celebration.
What types of things did they do for the celebration?
Oh, they had sack races, and they had all kinds of races and things like that. And they had bands playing instruments, you know.
Mhm.
They had like a gazebo. Remember where they used to, the
Like
band
how
was sitting in there and
yeah.
playing, and everybody was standing around listening to them.
Okay.
And I said to my mom, she always had a kind of a picnic lunch for us. We ate by the car, I believe. There was a park later on, but I don't think when we were small there was a park
Okay.
where they could eat. So we ate there, and then they had a nice big parade all the time, a lot of horses and stuff like that. I don't know, I don't remember too much from when I was that little. But I know we were all excited. We got a whole quarter to spend. Boy, that was a deal.
What types of things would you buy for a quarter then?
Well, you got ice cream, a great big dish of ice cream for a nickel.
Ooh.
Yeah, and candies, a big bag of candies for a nickel. And then we bought firecrackers, of course.
What type of ice cream would you usually go and get?
Well, I think they didn't have much flavors there. Vanilla.
Vanilla.
I don't remember anything else, but they did have a topping.
Okay.
They didn't have flavors like they have nowadays.
Were they in like a? Some people have said that it was like a soda fountain shop inside of a pharmacy. Was that what it was, or where would you get ice cream?
God, it must have been in there. It must have been in the drugstore, what we call the drugstore.
Yeah, okay.
There we had the ice cream.
What types of stuff would your mom pack for lunches when you'd go to the 4th of July? Like what types of food?
Oh, this bread and sausage, and that's all I can remember.
Did I would assume your family had a rather large garden out on the farm.
Definitely, my mom had a very, very large garden, and she canned all summer. We had an outdoor cellar, and that was full of food for the winter.
What type of foods would she can?
Oh, everything. They had beets, which I hated, carrots. Then she made mixed vegetables for vegetable soup, and of course pickles up to the Watusi. Had a lot of pickles. And then she made sauerkraut out of cabbage. And then they also bought fruits in boxes, and she canned them for dessert. And they only got dessert on Sundays.
Oh.
Not like nowadays, they walk all day and eat it. We also baked a cake, like a cake or a pie, just for Sundays for dessert.
So Sunday dinner then was the
Usually chicken noodle soup.
chicken noodle soup. What are some of the traditional German dishes that your mom used to bake?
Oh, I still make them.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah, our grandchildren just love them. If they have never eaten them, they still like them. The ones that have never eaten them, like the people that got married into the family, that have never eaten them, they just love it. Well, we made buttons and cheese buttons and dumplings. And of course, my mom baked bread every other day, I think, or every 3 days with all those people, kids.
Oh yeah, I can imagine how much food you guys.
And
would
you know,
do.
especially boys eat more than girls do.
And then after a long day on the farm.
And after all working out in the field, they came home starved. We ate a lot of fish in the winter, and I hate fish to this day. We lived by a creek, and my dad had one of those, I don't know, some kind of basket in the creek, and the fish swam in, and they never could come out, so that's what we had for supper. Well, that's all they had. We had supper and baked bread, fried fish and baked bread for supper.
Overeating makes a dislike.
And in the fall, of the year, of course, they butchered hogs, and then they made sausage, and my mom canned it. And
did you make sausage out on the farm then?
oh yes, my dad, we still make our own here.
Do you?
Oh yes.
Oh.
I worked for a meat market.
That's
And I prefer my own.
It has a better taste to it. I had experience making my own sausage one time, and it was good.
I make my own hamburger and everything. I cut my own meat and everything.
Oh.
Still, as long as I can, anyhow.
That's great.
But she canned a lot of sausage and meat, and then, like I said, my daughter calls it fear factor food. You know, they ate everything. They ate the pig feet,
Fear factor food.
made liver sausage, made head cheese, made blood sausage.
Every part of the animal.
Every part of the animal. Those days, you couldn't waste anything like they do now. I tell you what, we didn't waste anything.
With a family this large, what type of house did you guys live in? And how was
A
that
very
for
little
you?
one.
Very little one? Can
There
you
were
describe it?
three bedrooms in it.
Okay.
A kitchen and a living room, and 2 bedrooms upstairs and 1 downstairs, and they had 2 beds in each room. And I don't know, there was sometimes 4 of us in a bed. We laid when they were small. We laid the other direction.
Okay.
You know, what are you gonna do?
How did the family heat the house?
With a old cook stove.
Old cook stove. What did
We
all
all
the
slept-
rooms get heat? Or?
No, just the kitchen in the winter. In the summer, in the winter, we all slept in the cold. We had a big feather thick. We slept under, and I said, we went down to the kitchen. We took our jeans off. We had actually overalls and our shoes, and that's how we crawled in the bed.
Wow.
And I tell you what, nobody moved. That was cold. And then when we got up in the morning, we'd run down, and see, Mom would get up early and start the fire in the stove so that the kitchen would be warm. And then we'd run down and get dressed downstairs when we were little kids.
Where'd your family get the coal to heat the house?
Well, Dad got it from, they went to some place in the coal where they had coal to sell, and with a little old pickup. I don't know how we ever managed to get enough home. And then, of course, we had a lot of wood, and we got cow chips, and we went to the pig pen and picked up the corn cobs after the corn was off. And we used that. See, that really started the fire in a hurry. And the flour he did too. We bought a couple 100 pounds of flour in the fall, and that's what we basically lived on.
You talked about your mom baking bread. Do you still bake your own bread?
I used to, but you can buy that Rhodes. It's just as good. But I used to be able to bake nice bread, but I got bad hand too.
Yeah. Did you teach your children how to bake the traditional German dishes that your mom taught you?
Oh yeah, they learned. My girls do.
They do.
Even the son they killed, he's married to a wife from England, and she never ate that stuff, and she just loved it.
Loved it.
So he made strudels for her. And, I don't think I mentioned strudels, did I? I don't remember. He made strudels for her and buttons, and they just loved it. And his little boys like it too. They still do when they come for Christmas. I make sure I make a side dish of that stuff. The first year I only made a couple in a small batch, and then there wasn't very much here. And then my husband said, "There's only 2 left. Who's going to get that?" And then one of his boys said, "They're mine." So last year I made more.
No shyness around those.
No.
Growing up, how far did you live from Zeeland? How far was the farm from Zeeland?
Well, that was 10 miles, but then we moved to one that was 13
Okay.
later on when I was about 13 years old.
Okay.
Then we had a little bigger house, and
Was there more room for your family
yeah,
then?
we had more room. There was 4 or 5 bedrooms in that house then,
Okay.
and a living room. And of course, we never got to go in the living room. That was only for company.
Oh. What type of furniture was in there? Was it?
Mom had a Davenport and a couple of chairs in there, and a library table.
Okay.
But we were not allowed to go in there. That was for company. We spent most of our time in the dining room.
What types, when you weren't working on the farm, did you play any types of games as a child?
Yeah, right. We made mud pies,
Mud pies?
and we rolled tires along the road. Old tires. That's about all. We didn't, cards. They played cards, but only the boys were allowed to play, because in those days the girls did not play cards. That was
Really?
no.
What type of card games did they play?
Whist mostly.
Whisk. Okay.
My dad was very talented. He could play almost every instrument except the guitar.
Really?
He played the violin, the clarinet, he played the organ, he played the accordion.
Was he self-taught?
Oh yeah, that's all right. I think there's a picture in here of him and his brother that they played for dances.
And did your dad read music, or did he
No,
do it all
that
by
was
ear?
all by ear. In those days, there
That's
was no
just
such a thing.
amazing.
And I said, I have one brother, he plays for dances. He plays accordion. Where in the dickens was it now? I don't know. But I seen it, it was in here. He plays accordion, and
Did any of your brothers and sisters play?
just that one brother. Oh, my oldest sister played by ear, the one that's this one here.
This one here?
Yeah, she played by ear, and she played for church. She knew the tone of the song, she could play it.
So would your father play for you guys in the evening or anything?
Yeah, I can still hear him play the song Red Wing on that piano. Or organ, I mean, not piano. We had an organ. My nephew still has that organ.
That's a treasure.
My brother had it after we divided the things up or sold it, and then he wanted that. And, well, of course, he said he can have it. So, but then he gave it to my nephew instead. I don't know how come he gave it away. But it's still in the family, so.
Yeah, that's.
And whatever happened to his accordion, that I do not remember, or his violin that he had. I don't know what happened to that stuff. But he was self-taught.
That's amazing, and to play by ear too. So I imagine, did he have a lot of tunes then that he could play? Or
Well, that I don't know.
Then yeah, okay.
Because I was little. See, after he got married, they kind of broke up his band. After they got married to him and his brother,
Oh, okay.
they didn't go out and play for dances anymore.
Okay.
And they had their dances in the barn, in the loft, hayloft. They only had them in the summer when there was no hay up there, or in the winter, whenever it was empty.
Whenever there was nothing up there.
Yeah.
What were the holidays like Christmas or Thanksgiving?
Very poor. Christmas, that was a very special treat. We got candy at Christmas, of course, and nuts. And there were so many kids, my mom divided it all out, so we all got the equal amount. And gifts, the smallest ones got toys. That we have an aunt in Minneapolis, and she got some toys from wherever the rich people that were passing them out, and she mailed them up here, and my mom gave them to us for Christmas. And we were little, but never had a doll.
Really?
Well, there was no money to buy any dolls. And they never sent dolls. But I remember one year I got a cup and a saucer, a little one. Oh boy, I thought it was cute.
Do you still have that?
No, that was lost. That was lost, I think, when we moved to the other farm.
Oh, okay. Did you have a Christmas tree?
Yeah, not at first, but towards the end we did have a Christmas tree. A real one even. Then we had those candles that you snapped on.
Oh, really?
And I lit them one time, I once caught fire.
That's what I'd be afraid of doing. What'd your mom think of that?
And, I didn't even get hacked. Would you believe it?
What type what type of meal would you have for Christmas supper?
Same thing we always had, but nothing
Just
special.
Nothing special.
But we all went to church. You had to learn a piece of Christmas, from the Bible verse or something. When we were little, we had to go up front and recite that. And then when we, after church, we all got a nice bag of peanuts and candy
Oh.
for a reward.
For each kid.
For each kid.
Oh, okay. So what were you raised Lutheran or Catholic?
No, we were raised Reformed.
Reformed?
It's kind of like congregational.
Okay, okay.
They're going to Church of Christ Church now, my brothers, because that farm church closed that I showed you in here.
Yeah. Okay.
See, they couldn't keep a pastor. There wasn't enough people. So they all go to Wishy to that.
To that.
United Church of Christ Church.
Okay. So, were the church services in German or were they in
They were in
English?
German.
In German.
I used to be able to read a little bit German, but I can't anymore.
Can you speak it though?
Oh,
Fluently?
definitely.
Yeah.
No. I didn't teach my children German, and I regretted it. Because it's so nice when you can speak two languages.
Oh, it's a great
But
skill. Yeah.
do you know why I didn't? We used to get teased because we could speak German.
Really?
Oh, we were
In
looked
the
down upon. Oh, were we looked down upon? We went to town because we were Germans.
The accent and the dialect.
And yes, and so I never taught my children. But when our oldest son was in Germany, he did learn how to speak German over there.
Oh.
He was over there 7 years. He flew an AMAC plane.
Oh.
He was in the military for 20 years.
Oh, great. Long service there.
I still have. My youngest, one of the twins, is still in the military.
Really?
Yes, and I'm always hoping they won't send him over to that killer place.
Oh, yeah.
And the other one they were both in the twins, but one got hurt. So he's working for Koch in Bismarck.
So in your home then, did you primarily speak German?
Oh
in your
yeah,
home?
we only started when we went to school.
In school?
6 years old, and we started speaking English.
Okay. How far was the school from your farm?
Well, the first one was a mile, and we walked all the time except when it's really cold. And then they hauled us with horses. With horse and wagon, my dad would take us down. But we had a one-room schoolhouse. They're all grades were in one room and one teacher. That's no wonder a person doesn't know much.
How many students were in the room?
That I don't remember.
Do you remember whether if attendance was good or?
Oh, I think so.
Was it
I
good?
think it was.
Okay. Did all of your brothers and sisters? Did they all go to school as well?
Except her, she got to go to high school. The rest of them didn't.
Okay. Okay.
See, and they had a law when she was going to school. There was a law she had to go to high
She
school.
had to go. Okay.
Otherwise, my mom and dad didn't believe in education.
Oh.
My mom said you don't have to learn to go to school, learn how to wash diapers. So but now, nowadays women have to have an education. You got to make your own living.
Yeah.
But
It's different times between then and now.
Yeah, that's way different. That's how they believed. I said. That's how they were raised, so they didn't know any better.
Well, yeah, and it goes to survival too. You had that many mouths to feed.
Yeah,
You had the
you had to
farm
work.
maintain.
You had to work.
Mhm.
You had to work.
You didn't have the advantages of technology at that time to.
Nope, we did have my dad had a radio, but he was the only one who was allowed to turn it on.
Really? Did he listen
Battery
to it?
operated.
Did he listen to it often, or
In the evenings, we listened to it.
what type of programs would he listen? Would you listen?
Oh, I remember one time I listened to the boxing, which Smelling was boxing. He listened to that, and I don't remember what else. Sometimes music,
Okay.
but I can't remember what it was.
Did your family ever have a telephone?
Yeah, we had one of them old timers where we cranked
Mm-hmm.
and party lines, but we didn't talk on that. I don't remember Mom talking on it either. I don't remember that, but I know we had it.
What did you find especially beautiful about growing up on the plains? Was there anything that was just beautiful?
I don't know. Well, I'll tell you what, you didn't know about all those evil things that are going on in this world, things that we never knew about. I know we'd run around the prairie picking up things and to entertain ourselves. but I don't know, I just can't remember anything that was special.
Okay.
It was just that we didn't know it. That's
It was just
all the
life.
thing we knew.
Yep.
We didn't know any better. Well, we did go, we lived by a creek, and we used to go bathe by we had a kind of a little dam with a spillway. We'd go on Saturdays and go down there, and there was just a little water running over it, and we'd sit in that water and take baths. That I remember, which we kind of all enjoyed, I guess. Oh, we had a lot of, I should tell you this, in the winter we had a lot of fun. My sister and I, and we had neighbors that had sons that were the same age we were. And they would come over to our place when we lived by a creek, and there was a big tall hill there, and we'd go sledding on that hill. I don't know how we got up that hill. We made steps in the snow because it was pretty straight. And we go up there and slide down with it. We had a sled. We did have a sled.
Okay.
Come down, and then there was ice, on the ice. That was fun. We had lots of fun there. But other than that, I don't remember much. I said I remember the first whole candy bar I got to eat. I was 13 years old. Because my mom bought candy bars, and she divided them up so everybody got some.
Some of them. When you went to school, did you take a lunch to school?
Yep,
Yeah.
with a syrup pail. And we got mostly syrup bread, and I don't know what else. We got an apple, I think. That was our lunch. Of course, then we had a big gallon chuck that we took along for water. We all drank out of that.
Oh, okay. What types of subjects did you learn in school?
Oh, there was reading, writing, and arithmetic. That was about the basics.
What types of activities would you do during recess hour or noon hour?
Oh, we just run around, play ball outside, or play cricket, or I don't know, make a lot of noise. That's about.
What was the relationship between the students and the teacher? Were the teachers very approachable, or
Oh
were they
yeah,
very
I
strict,
think
or-
so. No, I don't know. I think they were. I could never complain. I never had no trouble with any of them.
Okay.
I don't remember anybody else having any trouble with them, but I know I never did.
Going back to church, did you get confirmed then? Go to
Oh yeah,
confirmation?
oh yeah.
And that was in German as well? How long did the confirmation classes last?
Well, we used to go to Sunday school on Sundays,
Okay.
and then no, we did have some English mixed in with it. We went to confirmation school, I think a week or two.
Okay. And did you have to memorize
Yeah, we had to memorize a lot,
And then
but basically all in German.
all in German?
Most of it, yeah.
Did you have, when it came to be the day of confirmation, did you have to get up in front of the congregation to recite something?
And then we had to also go up there and sing.
Sing?
The whole class,
Oh.
yeah.
How old were you when you went through confirmation?
I don't know. 13 or 14, something like that, I think.
Was it pretty scary for you, or
Not
did
that
it
I
just feel
remember.
natural?
Not just something we did. We knew we had to do it, and we did.
Yeah. How was your relationship with your pastor?
They didn't interact with you except for what we had a very strict pastor. It's not like nowadays you kind of interact with the pastors, and
He was there to teach you, and
that was it.
that was it.
See, kids weren't very valuable in those days, because nowadays the kids are everything. Of course, what else have you got in this world besides children?
The family.
But in those days, that the most important thing was work,
Survival. And,
survival. Yep.
you mentioned not having shoes in the winter. What types of
Well, in the winter we got.
or I mean in the summer.
Yeah.
What type of clothing? How would you guys have get clothing?
I don't know, hand-me-downs.
Hand-me-downs.
The older one if that didn't wear out, the next one I had to wear it until it fell apart.
Could your mother do a lot of sewing?
Oh yes, my mother sewed a lot.
Did she teach her daughters how to do? a lot
Yeah,
of
so
sewing?
everyone learned. They all know how to sew. We all know how to sew.
Oh, that's great. That's a great skill to have.
My daughters do too. They took it. They could have learned here, but they took it in school
Oh.
how to sew. I've got very talented daughters. My daughter in Bismarck, she wove clothes material. She's got a weaver, and she sews clothes, and she used to sell them.
Really?
But now she had to quit because her husband left her with the two children, and so the economy was so poor, so it wouldn't sell that well, so that you could make a living. So she's the editor of the Mandan paper now.
Oh,
She went to college for something, graphic art or something like that.
where'd you go to college at?
Robinson.
So what do all of your brothers and sisters do now? What did they all
Well,
grow up to do?
The boys all farmed,
All farm?
even the girls. They're on a farm. She wasn't farm. She retired. They moved to town. Of course, he still goes out every day and helps his son. And they farmed. She owns a farm and a house in Bismarck. He farms. He's still on the farm, but he doesn't seed anymore.
Okay.
He rented his land.
Oh, okay.
And I think he rented his two of them, right? This is the youngest one. No, from the boys. And he farmed. They retired too. They farmed. They all farmed, except her. Her and I. He
And
was
she
a
did?
body. She babysat,
Okay.
and she did her whole basement. She put walls up,
Really?
plasterboard by herself. She earned the money
Oh, my.
babysitting.
Huh.
And like I said, they were all pretty talented. He makes like animals and birds out of scrap iron.
Really? Oh.
I wish I had some pictures to show you.
Oh.
He had some nice stuff. He made some pretty nice stuff.
Huh.
And she bakes wedding cakes and birthday
Ooh.
cakes.
Great.
And let's see.
So, with the farmings, did they primarily go into grain farming or dairy farming?
They had both.
Both.
Mhm.
And,
See, you had to have both, kind of to make a go of it.
mhm. So when one isn't working, you have one that.
Something that.
Growing up, were you close to aunts and uncles at all? Did you have?
Well, like I said, they didn't associate with children, but I knew all my aunts and uncles. On my dad's side, mostly.
Okay.
My mother's side, I'd have to think very hard. I've got a picture on the refrigerator from my mother and most of her sisters
Oh, okay. So,
that I'll let you look at.
yeah, that'd be great. Did you have cousins that would come over?
Oh
and
yeah,
help
we
with
were close to some of my cousins.
Okay.
Some of the older ones, and then there were so many. After we. That I don't know them that well. I know who they are, but I don't know them that well.
Did with such a large family, did you your parents and some of your brothers and sisters go to other farms to help, or did you primarily stay on your own farm?
No, we did. My oldest sister, she had to go and help. All the rest,
Okay.
but see, then after we got along, came along, we just helped at our own farm.
Your own farm. Okay. What was the town set up when you went to town? What did the town look like? What types of things were in town?
There was a theater in there. I remember that.
Did you
And
guys get to go to the movies then?
after we were quite old, yeah, we got to go.
Okay.
And then there was a drugstore, grocery store, blacksmith. I remember that yet. When they welded, the flame came up, And of course, there were 2 bars that I remember. Can't remember anything else. But they had a movie theater that was in the Civic Center. They had dances in there and everything. They only had movies in like now and then on Saturday nights or so.
What do you remember any of the movies that you went to?
No.
Did you go often? Like, were you able to go?
No.
Just a
We didn't.
rarity?
We didn't get to town very often.
Okay. What about the dances? Did you go to the dances?
We went to a lot of dances. That we did when we were kids. They had about 2 dances a week or so during the winter. Yeah, we used to go.
And
We used to go a lot to those.
were those in town or were they?
No, they were in the, they were in the
barns
Civic
or-
Center that we went to
Oh, okay.
in town, Sealand.
Okay. Okay. Um, was there a doctor that at all near?
Yeah,
or-
there was a doctor in town, but you didn't go to see a doctor unless you were dead. Those days you didn't go right away. That was supposed to go away on its own.
Did any of your family members get seriously injured or ill
No,
as you were growing up?
no, but we lived in Fargo for a year, and then my brother had a kidney. This one had really, really bad kidneys. And you know what? I never even knew about it. He was in the hospital for how long? I don't know.
Oh,
And nobody they didn't even let us know in those days. I don't know. They just didn't do it. Otherwise, nobody else was sick.
did you have any? Did your mom and dad have any special home remedies for when you had a stomach ache?
Oh
or a
yeah,
headache?
green drops.
Green drops. What's that?
Green drops. I think that's what they were called. They put that in water. It was like peppermint or something. Put it in water and you had to drink that. Or drink tea, that Camilla tea that they picked. We always had to go out and pick it because we had enough in our yard.
Okay.
And Mom would dry it and then we'd have that. That's about all I know. And then they used to go to one old lady that kind of, I don't know what you call it, what she did.
Is it Brache? Braching? There's.
In German it's Breichen, but I don't know what you call it in
I don't
English.
think there's a translation for it in English.
They, used to
It's-
rub them
it's-
and they'd say things over them, and it helped.
Yeah,
I remember I used to have some of those. Now what are they called again? You got them from playing with the animals. Oh, come on, I know what they're called. And if they wouldn't go away, we'd go to a lady in Sealand, and she'd take a match and she'd light it, and she'd go over it, and she'd say something, but you never knew what she said. She said it to herself.
Oh.
And I'll tell you what, they went away. Now, what were they called? I can't think of it now. I know what they're called, but I can't think of it.
You talked a lot about doing a lot of work growing up. Did you have any chores that you just particularly hated doing, that you just dreaded?
We just didn't know any better. We just did it.
You just did
We
it.
didn't complain like the kids do nowadays. I don't want to do this. I don't like to do that.
It was just a
We just did
fact
it.
of life.
We just was a fact of life. We just did it. Like I said, I remember when my mom and dad, or when my dad and my older sisters went up north. I don't know how far away it was to get hay for the winter, and then we had to watch. And when we seen the horses coming, we had to go to the well and pump water for the horses. We didn't have a windmill, so my sister and I, her and I, this one and I, we had to go pump water. We were little. I don't know how the heck we did it. We had to pump that tank full of water for the horses when they got home. And it was always kind of almost dark by the time they got home and till we got to eat supper. Because in those days, they didn't let the kids eat. They had to wait till everybody was there.
Oh, okay. So it was.
So nowadays, when the kids get hungry, you can feed them.
So is it, would the family then sit at a table all together?
We had a
to
great
eat?
big table and a bench behind it where we sat on it.
I was gonna say, with that large of a family, it'd be a pretty large table.
But I don't remember what Mom had cooked then. I have no idea. I know potatoes we ate a lot, but I don't remember that anymore. What we had for meat. Oh, chicken. No, I shouldn't say that. We had a lot of chicken.
Okay.
Because we raised a lot of chickens. She even canned that for the winter.
Oh.
Butchered a bunch of chickens and canned them. My mom worked hard. I said she's gone so many years, and I still feel sorry for her when I think about it. Having all those children and as hard as she worked.
Putting
Of course,
food
you
in
did
their mouths.
laundry. You washed by hand on a washboard.
How old were you? Were the girls when they would start helping the mom with
As soon as they could.
as soon as they could?
As soon as they were able. We had to carry the water in. I remember the pails were so heavy we couldn't carry them. So her and I had to carry one side, and she took it the other side, and we carried it to the house. We had one pail of water, and everybody drank out of that. We didn't worry about germs in those days.
How often did you guys have baths?
Well, the summertime we had to wash our feet every night,
Okay, because you didn't have the shoes.
but
to...
we had a bath on a Saturday. At the winter times, we probably had it once a month
Okay.
because we had to heat the water, carry it in, heat it, and then you took a tub of water and they started out with the little one. The little one got to take a bath first, and then maybe to the middle one, then they dumped the water and then started all over again with the rest of them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
People have to live like this nowadays, they would, how we live.
That's an understatement. I think a lot of people would be pretty
They don't know what it's like to have lived in those days.
not even close. You grew up. You said you grew up in the 30s? Is what you said. How was it with a term that has been thrown around a lot is the dirty 30s? Was it really hard?
I remember one dirt storm. That was awful. It started coming in the west, and it was just pitch black, big wall, and so we started crying. My mom made us sit down below the window so we couldn't see it, and then they stuffed towels by the doors and the windows because dirt didn't come in. But I only remember one.
Okay.
But I know there must have been a lot of, I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was like a snowstorm, but it was dirt. It was awful.
Did you get it in like your mouth or anything? I mean, that just
Well,
to me, it just
we
seems
were
like
all,
it
well,
was
they
like
all ran
bleed.
for the house. We were all in the
in
house.
Okay.
So we didn't get that, that anybody was caught out there, anybody. There was nobody caught out there.
Okay. Did you have any experience? I mean, since it is the Northern Plains, you experience any severe blizzards or?
Oh,
really?
yeah, that's not too long ago. Let's see, when we lived from Fredonia at one time, and we had a 3-day blizzard, and when everything was over with, we had snowbanks as high as houses.
Oh, my.
We have pictures of those. I think my daughter took them along, and she insists she didn't, but I think she did most of them. We walked on the snowbank. We could walk on top of the parsonage. We had a horrible snow that year. Our car was buried. And
What about tornadoes? Have you had any
No.
experience with them?
no, we never had tornadoes that I know of. Maybe watched some, but nothing that ever destroyed anything.
Okay. So, growing up, what was your family's feelings towards the plains environment and the weather?
I have no idea. They didn't talk about stuff like that.
It just was.
Like I said, they just accepted it. In those
deal with
days.
what it comes.
They did the best they could.
How did World War II affect your family?
Oh, well, I tell you what, everything was rationed. Gas was rationed. I still remember gas coupons. And the sugar was rationed. Of course, we had our own food since we had the farm, but the city people, they had no meat to eat or nothing. I remember one time when Dad did a favor for somebody. He butchered a hog for him, and they cut it up and put it inside the cream can, and then he gave it to him. Secretly, so the rest didn't know it, because it was illegal. And of course, we had all our own food, but the only thing is, remember, we had sugar that we didn't. We only got allowed so much sugar for each person. They had to have a coupon to buy it, and gas. The rest, like I say, that never affected us because we had our own food.
Did any of your brothers, your older brothers or sisters, brothers?
He has they wouldn't take him. He had he was cross-eyed.
Okay.
So he wouldn't go. And the rest of them were too young until later on. Where's Marvin? Oh, here. This one then had to go, but it was after the war was over.
Okay.
He had to go to the military. Okay. The rest didn't have to go because they were all too young.
Did your family still have relatives back in Germany at that time?
Not that I know of. Not that I know. No, we never wrote letters that I know of.
What about family in Russia? Anything from there? No? Okay.
Not that I know of. Nope. My mom never wrote to anybody. Of course, she only went to school for 3 years, I think.
Okay. So did all of besides your youngest sister, did all of your brothers and sisters finish grade school?
Yeah. That we did.
Okay.
That we did.
Okay. Did your family ever read any newspapers? Were they?
Oh yeah, my dad had the Farmer,
Okay.
used to be called. He used to get that one.
That one.
But we never had magazines or anything like that. Well, maybe later on, after we moved to the other farm, we did have some magazines.
Okay.
But when we lived in that first farm that where all this went on, we didn't have magazines. But he did get the paper called Farmer.
What about hunting or fishing? Did any of your
Oh yes, my dad did a lot of hunting of the wishing now, in the winter.
in the winter?
And he sold like the hides.
Okay.
See, that brought some money in.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, we had a catch gophers,
Oh.
and we'd get a penny for each tail we brought
Oh.
into town.
that was
So the
something
girls,
that
our
did.
kids did that. Yeah, we had traps and we had gophers.
Great. Your house, did it have a basement in it
Nope,
when you were growing
nope,
up? No,
nope,
no
nope,
basement.
nope.
So, where did your mom do did she store the canning then?
No, we had outside cellar,
Okay.
one of those dugout cellars.
Okay. Did either of the houses ever get a basement
Nope,
at any
nope,
point?
nope, nope.
Okay.
My youngest brother lives on the farm, and they got rid of that house and built themselves a new one.
What about running water? The
No,
houses
no, we were the running water.
You and your sister.
We were the running water. We ran, and there was, of course, no. We kept our cream and milk cold. In the summer, they put a rope on a quart jar and they let it down into the well
Oh.
to keep it cold.
Okay.
So we had cold cream and cold milk.
Okay. How would you describe your dad? His character? How?
Stubborn old German.
Stubborn old German. Well, he was musically talented.
Yes, and
Was he an affectionate person at all?
no,
or-
no. There was no affection in the old days.
Okay.
There's no affection in those old Germans.
Okay.
They didn't show their affection. Nope. I'm sure, like I said, I know they loved us, but they never showed it.
How would you describe your mom? Your mom's character?
Oh, she was more affectionate. She was more, but she never said I love you or that she hugged us or anything after we were big. She took good care of the kids, but she loved all her grandchildren. She had, I think, 54 grandchildren when she passed away, and I know she loved every one of them.
Oh my goodness.
And she just loved to give things to them, and she couldn't afford it. So what she did? She bought them each a candy bar and put 50 cents with it, and that's what they got for Christmas. Of course, that was a treat.
Yeah.
I mean, the grandchildren, the grandchildren, because there were so many. She couldn't possibly.
54 of them.
She couldn't possibly. And there've been some added since she's gone.
Oh,
We had a large. That's why I said we have such a large family. We got so many things going that we don't
it's hard to
do anything else.
But at least that's the important part of life. Is the
I
family.
guess so. Like I said, we're very close at my side.
Thinking back, who set most of the rules in your family, or who was the strict one?
Well, Dad. Oh, we didn't listen to Mom. Boy, we sure listened to Dad. Dad always threatened to beat us, but he never ever did. He never ever hit one of us kids.
Really?
So he had one of those black bells that they used to sharpen their razor on.
Oh, okay.
He'd always tell him he's going to get the belt out if you don't listen, but we never ever got hit by my
More
dad.
the intimidation factor
Yeah,
than
see,
anything.
yeah. My mom, she once in a while slapped us one, but that's about it. Of course, we deserved it. I'm sure. But that we got beat or anything like that. No.
Where was your dad born?
On the farm,
On the farm? And your mom?
north of Salem. My mom, same thing.
Same thing. How did they meet? Do you know? Or they...
That I don't know. I have
Don't know.
no idea. I suppose that dance. I have no idea.
Okay.
I never asked. They never talked about that. My older sisters, they knew a little more about this stuff, but I said, no, you can't talk to them anymore. I should ask her. I think she would know a few things that I wish I knew that I don't know. I don't even know what my grandma Schwint's first name was. And I bet she know. Because, she passed away when my mom was 9.
Yeah,
And
so you just
yeah,
knew
different.
her as the stories that you heard.
And in those days, when people got old, the kids had to take them in. I remember my grandpa Schwint was staying with us for a summer, even with all the kids there were. But what were they going to do? Somebody had to take care of me. He got cataracts in those days. They didn't remove cataracts, so he was blind. I remember my mom put a rope from the house to the bathrooms, outhouse, so he could walk, by himself to go to the bathroom. He'd have the rope, and follow that. And I remember him sitting behind the house and had a fly swatter and was killing flies. I don't know how he did it without seeing.
I guess I've heard that without seeing, your other senses pick up.
He must have felt them or something. I don't know, but I remember them sitting in a chair in the shade the summer and swatting flies. Of course, we had an outhouse to go to, and there was no toilet paper either in those days.
Really? So what would you use?
Sears and Roebuck
Oh.
catalog.
Did your family ever order anything from the Sears catalog? Or?
All the clothes. Mom ordered all the clothes from Sears. There was that was the big catalog in those days.
When your church and your school, were they predominantly German Russian students? Or were there any other, were there Norwegians or any other?
Nope, they were all German. We had those different denominations like Church with Catholics and Reformed people that were going to our school.
But they were German Russian.
Yep, they were all German though.
Different religions, but German Russian.
So it's the church. Basically, the church was made up of family members, like my dad's brothers and sisters. Our brothers, my dad only had one sister.
So, how large was the church, would you say? I mean, if you had to...
Just very little thing.
Very small.
Well, there you could see the
Yeah,
picture,
it's
how little
small,
it was, just a little
yeah.
small church.
Okay. Growing up, did the family have any superstitions or things that they...
No. Not that I know of.
Did your
Except
mom...
on Sundays, we obeyed Sundays more than they do nowadays. We were not even allowed to use a scissor on Sundays.
Oh. Okay.
That was very strict. We had things that we didn't do on Sundays.
Okay. Were there, what other types of things were there that you wouldn't do on a
I don't remember, but I know we were not allowed to use a scissor. We weren't supposed to do any work, but we still had to go milk. And
things that had to
had to be done.
Had to be done. Okay. After you would go to church Sunday mornings or?
Yeah, in the morning.
And then what would you do the rest of the afternoon?
I don't know. Mom and Dad took a nap. We just ran around the yard, I guess.
Just entertain yourself the way kids.
I don't know. I always found something to do. I don't know. And we were not allowed to go near the water. None of us could swim. Dad was so afraid of somebody drowning.
Did any of you ever learn how to swim when you were kids? No.
And then later on, and also we had a board, old blank, what they called it, in the rock, and then we'd sit on and have a teeter-totter. That we did. We made our own teeter-totter out of it. That I remember. But other than that, we had nothing from games or anything like that. We played hide and seek a lot.
That's a good. I played that one a lot myself. Yeah.
That was probably all there was to do. And we crawled around on the, hayloft and on the heather box. And
did you have special Sunday clothes that you would wear to church?
oh yeah, we had one Sunday outfit. That was safe for church. When we got home, we had to change.
Before you could go out and play.
Same with school. We had to change clothes when we got home from school. Of course, I made my kids do the same thing because they went and played in the barn and didn't want them ruined.
Yeah, keep them nice as long as they can.
Because you know how that can ruin them. They get hung on a nail and rip them. And
grass stains
our twins went up to that's farm up here, the end of town. That's what they had a son their age. Okay. And they used to crawl around the barn and stuff like that. Machinery and But yeah, we had to do that, and I don't know, in the fall we got a new pair of overalls and a new pair of shoes to go to school. And you had to wear the shoes whether they fit you or not, because if they fit you, an older one child, you had to wear it. The next one had to wear them. Because there just wasn't money for anything.
On those really cold days that you said that you didn't walk to school, did you not go to school, or did your
Oh
dad
no,
take
my
you to
dad
school?
took us to school with the horses and a wagon.
Okay.
We'd sit on the wagon and under a blanket, and then evenings he'd come and get us again.
Did you ever miss school to help out on the farm, or?
No, we never had to do that.
Okay. Did other students have to do that?
Not that I
often, or
remember.
not you
I
remember?
don't remember all that.
Okay.
Because it probably wasn't important to me.
Yeah,
You
you're
know,
just at school.
So
and
it's not,
doing-
yeah, I just did what I had to do. Because it wasn't, see, you only remember things that seemed kind of important to you. Or
That has some influence on you, and yeah, most definitely. Did you enjoy going to school?
I guess so. I guess that's the only way we got out of the house. We never got to go anywhere else.
What was the most stressful or scary type of childhood experience that you had?
You know, something, I can't think of one,
Okay,
that we were scared.
okay. Nothing really. Okay. How about the happiest time in your childhood? If you had to pick one time, what would you say was the happiest time?
I can't think of anything either. I don't know, we seemed to be happy. We didn't know any better.
Just
It seems like people were much happier in those days than they are nowadays.
okay.
They didn't have all that stress and stuff. And I don't know, we were always happy. We always worked around. The kids, you know.
Family. Okay. How about the most adventurous thing? Did you do anything adventurous? You would consider.
What would you consider adventurous? I know we used to go back to, I don't know if that's adventurous or not, but we went back to our uncle's. They had a creek running by his place too, and then in the summertime we'd go pick chook cherries.
Oh.
We'd crawl up in the trees and pick chook cherries, and we'd bring them home, and Mom would make jelly out of it for the winter.
I'd say that's adventurous. I'd say that would picking up, crawling up trees and climbing up trees. Yeah.
We also had to go out to the prairie and turn cow chips around so they'd dry. And after they were dry, we'd go out and pick them up and bring them home for fuel for the winter. And every time Mom wanted to cook supper, she had to make a new fire.
Oh.
Because, you know, there was nothing you could turn on in a hurry.
Always took some time. Did your parents entertain a lot at the house? Did they have?
Oh yeah, they used to go to Grandpa's house, or we had a bunch of people at our house. But I don't think they just came to visit.
What would the kids do when people would come to visit?
Get heck from making too much noise.
Stay out of that family room while they were visiting.
Yeah. But I remember we'd go upstairs and horse around, and they'd yell up, and we're supposed to calm down, and yell. 5 minutes later, they're horsing around again. I don't know what the heck we were doing, making noise.
Anything to be loud, right?
I suppose. How kids are, they can't sit still.
From what I've seen in other interviews is there's a lot of customs centered around a German-Russian funeral. Did you go to any funerals as a child? And
You know something? We went to one, but the only thing is I remember seeing my uncle in a coffin. That's the only thing I remember. And I was so little, it lifted me up to look at him. My oldest uncle was in World War II.
Okay.
One,
One?
not two. World War I, and I don't know. I've never asked why, from what he died, but he died afterwards.
Okay.
And beginning to wonder if it wasn't some of the chemicals used in those old days.
Oh yeah.
But I always was going to ask her, and I never think of it when I see her, because she might know.
Slips your mind. Yeah.
My oldest sister.
How was that for you, seeing him at such a young age?
I don't know. It just was one of those things. I know I had an uncle that had two little babies that died, but we never got to go to those funerals. They never took us to those funerals. But my dad made all the coffins
Really?
for all of them.
Okay.
He built all the coffins. My dad was so handy. Like I said, he did everything in that way.
So on the farm, what did the layout of the farm look like? You had your house, and then what other types of buildings?
Then we
did
had a
you have?
barn and a chicken coop and a pig barn, and we had a granary. Oh, we put a swing in the granary with ropes and a board on the bottom. We sat and we swung on that for pastime. I remember one thing else. We went to that uncle's house that died. They were giving shots out for some diphtheria or something. And I remember we're doing it at that house. So we all went down for that shot. I remember that one yet, because that was the first shot I ever got in my life. Oh, don't say that. I got to give myself one every day.
Oh.
It's only going to be for one more year, and then I'm done. I have osteoporosis so bad, and I got to take shots for my bones.
I don't know I don't know if I could do that. Ugh.
Oh, one of my sisters is supposed to do it too, and she said, I can't do that. I said, you can't feel them. Those needles are so little, you can't feel them.
I even get upset when they prick your finger just to get a little. Oh, nope, I don't think I.
Well, I tell you what, in this life, there's things you have to do,
That's
whether you
true.
want to or not.
And I think it goes back to if you have to do it in survival.
You just go ahead and do it.
Do it.
Like I said, we just didn't know any better. We just did what we had to.
You're,
And we butchered a lot of chickens. Oh, I said, all the chickens I butchered in my life already.
Did
Played.
Your family have any pets besides the animals, like a dog?
Yeah, I always had a dog, and we always had cats. We always played with kitties and dogs. But they're never in the house. No. Oh, I shouldn't say that. In the winter, when it was so awfully, awfully cold, my mom felt sorry for the dogs, so she opened the entryway and let them into just the entryway
Okay.
for the winter. And boy, did he appreciate that. When she opened that door, woof, was he in there.
Did your dog help with like rounding up the
Oh,
cattle?
yes. Oh, yes. That's another thing we had to do. We had to walk all the way out to the prairie and get the milk cows. And the dog would always go with you, and he'd chase them, come home. We had to do that.
Do you know what type of dog he was? Was he
No,
just a stray
just
dog that?
a stray dog.
Okay.
They didn't have any
Did you have a
special
name for him?
dogs. Oh, yes, but I can't remember what he was. They always had names, our dogs.
Yeah.
See, when one died, they got another one, but I don't remember names for our dogs.
How did you meet your husband?
Let's see. Through my oldest sister, she's married to his brother. She was married to his brother.
Oh, okay. Okay. What does a traditional wedding consist of?
Oh, they had a church wedding, and they just had one bridesmaid and one best man. That's all they had in those days.
Okay, so no like.
And then they had the weddings at the house. Everybody cooked and baked, and I don't know, I remember getting ready for my older sister's wedding. We baked cakes and cakes to no end. And then they all ate there, well, in different rooms.
Did the families come from afar, like aunts and uncles?
Yeah, they all came. They all came, yeah. Of course, they all lived close by.
Yeah.
See, my dad's brothers, they all lived the same way as my brothers are living.
All in that
All in
same
one-
farming community.
And let's see, once then they played music we had a summer kitchen. You know, the old days they had a summer kitchen. Played music in there, and there they cleared one room out, and that's where some danced.
That's okay.
And some had, I don't think I remember any of ours having wedding dances in the hayloft. I don't think so. But then later on, when those younger ones got married, they had it at Seal in the City Hall.
Oh, okay.
But they still got married in that little church.
So did all of your sisters and brothers? Then?
No,
Oh.
no. We didn't have a wedding, and she didn't have a wedding, and he didn't have a wedding. See, we didn't all have weddings.
Oh, okay.
And Viola didn't have a wedding either.
But the ones that did they have?
They
them
had
as-
that, yeah.
Okay. see here. Why do you think it's important to share your life story?
Well, my daughter was going to do this. Just, just like I said, my brothers and sisters. She just thought it would be nice to know after we're gone, how we had to live. I remember some more weird things.
Okay.
Would you believe it? In the summer, we had lots of flies in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible, terrible lot of flies. And we used to have a summer kitchen. See, we didn't live in the house, the big house at the wet summer.
Mm-hmm.
That was kept just to sleep in.
Okay.
And then we'd have so many flies in there, we didn't know what to do with them. We had to use dish towels and chase them out. Would you believe it? That's how many flies there were. We would, a bunch of us would chase, and one would stand by the door and open the door so they'd go out when we got to the door. And of course, there were a few left afterwards, and then we used one of those spray things and sprayed them so they died, and then we'd sweep them up and get them out. So they would have eaten a person alive, I think, if you left them alone.
Ah.
Because they smelled the food.
Did you have problems with the mosquitoes and ticks
Yeah.
and things like that?
Not ticks, I don't remember anything about ticks. But mosquitoes in the evenings, sometimes you couldn't hardly be outside. I remember one night my Uncle Otto and my mom's sister came to visit, and then they had a girl my age, so we went outside. And we had to have something to keep chasing the mosquitoes away from us. And I know they just tell us, come in, come in. But of course you want to run around outside.
You can get more mischief outside than you can
I guess so.
inside. Let's see here. How do you think your life on the plains has shaped who you are today?
Well, I don't know. Tell you what, you didn't learn much besides the farm life. So what I learned afterwards, I know I learned on my own. Like, I was very interested in art all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But in those days they didn't. It was just one of those things, you were interested in art, and that was it. As I said, my older sister was so interested in music if she'd have had an opportunity. But see, we had no opportunities. We had no opportunities.
So when did you start painting?
Our oldest son bought his sister a paint set, and she wasn't interested in it for Christmas, so I started. I've always been interested in art. I've always loved art, and that's how I started. So I painted pictures, and then after my daughters grew up and left, and I couldn't deal with cleaning the house and painting pictures and my job. This was a very hard job I was doing, so I quit. But I used to sell some. I sold some.
Very
I gotta
you're talented.
I gotta show you some other
we
ones
want
when we're
to,
done.
Yes.
And then after, I have a sister-in-law that paints on glass too.
Okay.
And when she found that, and then she gave me where I can get all the paints and stuff. And then I started doing that, because after I didn't go back into painting pictures anymore after I quit working then. But I couldn't deal with it, painting it. See, I'd paint a little while in the morning before I went to work, and then I didn't want to go to work, I wanted to paint. Had to leave it late. So I just finally gave it up. It was just finally too much for me. I couldn't deal with it.
Too much going on and not enough time in the day.
Yep, so I quit that. And
Well, before we go and look at your pictures and take some pictures of those, are there any other thoughts or observations you would like to add that you can think of about your childhood experiences or memories growing up on the plains?
just thinking, I'm sure there was more, but I can't always think of everything at a certain time.
Okay. Well, and if you have anything else,
I had written some stuff down. If I can find that, I suppose you can have it. I was going to write it down for my daughter.
we could. We have a scanner here too, so if you have it, we could scan a copy of it, and we can have it, and then you can.
I'm not very good at spelling, so I don't know if I got the words all spelled right. But
neither am I, and he's even worse. So.
you're kidding. I thought nowadays the kids can all spell.
Oh no, I spell check on the computer.
No, I'm not very good at spelling. Like I said, I mustn't have had a very good phonics teacher. See, we taught phonics in the old days, how to read. because I can't spell. But I said, everything else I know, I learned on my own. Like I learned to be a meat cutter on my own. I learned my painting all on my own.
You know, when
And I installed the bedroom rug. I did all that stuff.
do you think did your dad's handing skills then you think
I figure so.
came
My
through?
daughter got a lot of that talent too.
Okay. And then is there anyone else that you would like to suggest for us to interview for this project that you know of? Out
I don't know
everywhere.
if I dare mention some of my relatives. See, if my oldest sister was there, I would recommend her because she knows a little more about this older stuff than I do. But she lives in Bismarck.
Well, we can put her on the list and give her a call if you want, or I could leave you a brochure to give to her and then she can call me.
Her first husband died, and so she's remarried.
Okay.
So I don't know what her second husband knows, but her first husband lived the same way we did.
Okay. Do you want me to leave you
See,
a brochure?
Marvin would be interested. He's kind of more outgoing. Some of those other ones, I don't think they're so willing to do this.
Yeah.
Elma might do it, but her husband, I doubt it.
Okay. And Elma's in Bismarck, you said?
No,
Oh.
Elma's Warshik.
Elma's Wishick.
I
And
don't
so is
think-
Marvin?
Yeah, I don't think, Wilbert is my oldest brother. He probably would know more about it, but I don't know how he'd take this
Okay.
if I would tell him. It's too bad my oldest sister can't talk. She could tell you lots more. Because she used to have to go to all the aunts and uncles and take care of their women when they had babies. And they all had lots of babies. I said, that girl worked so hard.
She worked as a
And for nothing. And you know, they didn't pay in those days.
No, it was
And
just-
if they did get paid, the parents got the money.
Yeah.
I mean, you didn't work for yourself. You worked
was
for the
the
parents.
family, for the
You
survival
didn't
of the
get
family.
you didn't get to keep the money. But Edgar, I don't know. He's a little Wilmer. I don't want him even talk to him. He's so stubborn. And Wilbert, I don't know either if he'd take that. But I said he could know more because he was older than I am quite a bit. But Alice, the oldest one, she might know a few things. But I said Elma might talk to you, but I don't know. Her husband probably won't.
Yeah.
Stubborn old Germans. They're one thing. They're very stubborn,
Yep,
especially the men.
most definitely.
I don't know if you heard that from Maureen already or not, but
Oh yes, and even the men that I've interviewed, they call themselves stubborn.
they wanted everything their way.
Definitely, but there's nothing. I mean, that's who they are.
That's who they are.
Yeah.
I said, that's the way they were raised. They didn't know any better. Like I said, you know, we didn't have education or anything, but I said, they didn't know any better. They figured you work and make a living. And I said, that's one thing they taught us, and taught us how to work. We all know how to work. I said that. I installed that into my children, too. Of course, they all had an opportunity to go to college. Her oldest son went to Fargo. He went to ROTC.
Okay.
He graduated as a lieutenant, I think.
Okay.
And our daughter, she went to Wahpeton for graphics arts, and now we've got one in Wisconsin. She is a lab tech down there. And the youngest one is the twins is a full-time guards in Jamestown.
Okay.
And the other one that got hurt, he's in Bismarck. He works for Coke then. He's not married, that one. He's got that social anxiety problems. And we can't get him to get help. He won't do it. So he doesn't like to go anywhere. He's too uncomfortable.
Just to work and then home.
He goes to work and home and on Fridays to go to the bar with his buddies. That's about it.
Okay.
And our grandson is graduating Sunday, so he said he'll come over for that.
So another family obligation.
Yep.